Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Griever Productions. Now, I'm here with a song that, usually what I do on this channel, as a lot of people know, is that I go in listening to songs for the first time. This is not a first-time listen for me. This is probably a 1,001st time listen. But I wanted to kind of share this one with you all for a couple of reasons, right? So, back when I was making the change from classical music into rock music, this was a song that my singing teacher gave to me to learn, right? And the reason for it is a phenomenal masterclass in getting in between your chest voice and your mixed voice, which is a register that's kind of in between your head voice and your chest voice. A large part of why this one was given to me is because it's where the basis of a lot of modern rock singing kind of comes from. And a lot of people look up to Steve Perry's voice from Journey in this one. And I want to... Oops, my phone has just fallen. And a lot of people look up to Steve Perry because the voice that comes out of that man is phenomenal. And in fact, that's why people know him as The Voice. You've got Steve Perry, known as The Voice pretty much worldwide, and then you've got John Farnham, known as The Voice here in Australia. Now, a large part of why I was given this one is because if you can get through this song in your mixed voice and get your stamina enough to last from start to finish, you can practically sing anything in that mixed voice. Getting into that mixed voice and then popping out of that mixed voice is a skill that we worked on for weeks because it was a completely new concept to me at the time, right? And I love it. I love this song. I think that his voice and the way that he uses it is such a masterclass. And I thought, hey, I'll bring it to you guys and I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull apart the performance and explain the different aspects of the voice and what's happening in each of it. Because I've studied this one to the nth degree. Like, it's one that lives rent-free in my head, to be completely honest. And it looks like this is a 2022 remaster of this, so it should actually look a bit better than the one that I'm used to watching. But before we begin, please do leave a like on the video. It really does help. In the description below, we do have our merch and we have our Discord channel in which, if you want to join in the conversations, you can. We have a little area in there for people to drop short clip videos that they think will make me laugh for a Try Not to Laugh challenge. And that'll be something that I either record or live stream at some point. I think it will be quite a lot of fun. But for now, let's open this up.
Lying beside you, here in the dark, feeling your heartbeat with mine.
So, the tenderness in this and the height in this is what we're going to focus on in the start, right? Lying beside you. It's quite high for the chest voice, even for a tenor, right? And the thing that has always baffled me is the way that Steve is able to hold, or was able to hold, back the volume. Doesn't have to be loud. A lot of singers fall into that trap of the higher they sing, the louder they sing, because they're trying to brute force it, in a sense. But Steve has never done that, right? And in fact, quite the opposite here. It's quite pristine. And keeping in mind as well, this is a fair way through this concert that he is singing this. So he's done all of the big songs like Don't Stop Believing and a whole heap of other songs that are equally as intense on the voice. And yet he's still able to pull this back and do this.
Softly you whisper, you're so sincere. How could our love be so blind? We sailed on together, we drifted apart, and here you are by my side. So now I come to you with open arms, nothing to hide. Believer, I say.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I want you to really have a listen to this part of this song, right? Here. So what we've got, right, is we've got a gentleman using his chest voice up until he gets to the higher parts and then going into that mixed voice. If you listen for it, you'll hear that slight change. There is a slight change in the tone. Now, Steve is very good at hiding that change, and it's not something you can really think about or really notice until it's pointed out to you. So... So the so now up is all in the chest, and then when he hits the come, that's when the mixed voice starts to come in. Now, it's interesting because it doesn't sound like there is much of a change there at all. So now I come to you with open arms, nothing to hide. Believer, I say. So here I am with open arms. Only you see what your love means to me. Open arms. Beautiful. He's always in that beautiful pocket of his voice there and falls into it so naturally. So now I come to you with open arms. It's a completely different technique to get into it, and the way he stays in it and it just remains strong in that section of the voice. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Living without you, loving alone, this empty house.
And there's a lot to be said for that line. Living alone. The way that he goes into that mid voice and then brings it down into the chest voice, and there's so much intricacy to what he's singing and intricacy in how his voice maneuvers. It's just stunning.
Living without you, loving alone, this empty house seems so cold. Wanting to hold you, wanting you now, how much I wanted you home. But now that you've come back to love today, I need you to stay. So now I come to you with open arms, nothing to hide. Believer, I say. So here I am with open arms, hoping you see what your love means to me. Open arms.
And then again, right? So if we go back to the start of that chorus. So now that we go back to the start of this chorus, all right, the second time he runs through it, it is just as powerful. Actually, it's actually more powerful. He's just kicked it up that tiny little notch because it's an emotive thing to bring it up that little bit extra the next time through, right? And it's beautiful. He maintains that balance of just sweetness and yet power. And it's such a minute line that someone can stand on, because if you tip over one way or the other, you've got a choice here, right? If you're not quite in the mixed voice when you're doing this, right, there's two things that can happen. You've got to be right on it, otherwise it's like somebody on a tightrope. So say here's the tightrope, right? That my finger is the tightrope. You're on it or you're not. So what will happen is either it'll maintain the "so now I come to you," or it goes "so now I come to you." It goes too far over to the head voice, or it's a belt. "So now I come to you," which doesn't sound as nice. It doesn't. It's much harsher. To be able to make the differentiation between those areas in a split second is just stunning. Is just incredible, and it's such a piece that you can pull apart for hours upon hours and still hear more. There's another another artist that has a very similar technique but does very different music is Dio, and but that I'll explain that at the end.
So now I come to you with open arms, nothing to hide. Believe what I say. So here I am with open arms, hoping you'll see what your love means to me. Open arms. Thank you, Houston.
It's incredibly beautiful. And the thing that I think a big reason why I feel as though a lot of people don't talk about Journey when they talk about talk about the vocals and the way that the vocals develop today is because you don't think, when you think of Journey, you don't think that it's difficult, right? But it is. If you go back and you re-listen to Journey stuff, especially with Steve, you can really appreciate it. Like, try to sing along. It's hard, man. Like, even Don't Stop Believing, which is just this kind of upbeat number, it's much harder to sing than what anybody thinks. Another song that Steve does that is a masterclass in staying up in that area of the voice, and I will explain why this one was so prominent in my training as well in just a second, is Mother, Father. So, hey, mother, father, sister, don't you know that I'm alive for you? It's all up there in that section of the voice, and you've got to maintain it, because if you don't, by the end, your voice is gone. And if you can't get through that song, how are you expected to get through a whole concert? So another reason why this particular song was so prominent in my training, right, and Journey as a whole is if you think about the makeup of the notes in that, so now I come to you with open arms, nothing to hide. A lot of it is the same note over and over and over again. And that's the way that you build stamina, is by maintaining that throughout the piece, right? a large part of what I would do as a warm-up are songs that beat out the same note. You think that people would have had enough of silly love songs? Things like that. And then you put them up in key and all of that sort of thing. It's a very interesting way of doing it, because it allows you to bash out the same notes over and over again. Hotel California is another one, does the same thing. Just the Way You Are by Billy Joel, that's another one. It's a lot of it is the same note that that you can kind of just keep going, and you maintain the stamina through it. Because if you can maintain the stamina and you have that note, whatever the highest note is that you're repeating over and over again, as like just on the cusp of the top of your chest voice, then that's how you start to learn how to flip in between the two. And that's how I was taught how to do it as well, and it worked. It definitely worked for me. It may be something for the vocalists that come into here and have a look to try as well. Maybe don't necessarily try it on your own because, you know, of vocal health reasons. But it's definitely something that a lot of these guys now, especially like Tommy, Dan, Nils from Dynasty, and Amaranth, and all of the others, these are techniques that all of these guys are using, whether they realize it or not. This is a similar technique. And I mentioned before, another one that uses the same technique is Ronnie James Dio. And a lot of people don't think about it because you think, oh, you know, that's, you know, he was a starter of metal, right? And a lot of people just don't think of him. Like, a lot of people know that he's got a good voice, right? Or had a good voice, rather, but don't put the emphasis on him being a pioneer, which he is. Steve, pioneer. Dio, pioneer. They changed the way that vocal worked, and they challenged our understanding of how a voice should work, especially when it comes to male voices, because there weren't many people that could do it until they did. Like, don't get me wrong, you had bands that came out like Twisted Sister, you had Led Zeppelin. These are the guys that were challenging our knowledge of the voice. And it's interesting because now that we've had the time to go through and understand what they were doing, we can now prepare a new generation of vocalists with all of those tools. I think it's quite exciting. I think it's very interesting. I think it's exciting. And let me know what you think. So anyway, that's it from me for today. Like a favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe, do all that sort of thing. And I'll see you next time. All right, bye for now.